All right. Welcome to class today. We're going to talk about a subject that has definitely been near and dear to my heart, especially over the last, I guess, more so towards the last couple of years, right? Um, and it's because I've focused a lot more on abundance and having the abundance mindset and just what it truly means to be and feel abundance in my life. And I'll tell you that I've had a lot of conversations um, around this because there's so many things going on in our country right now where as people feel that abundance is being taken away, right? When it comes to jobs and job loss and just rollbacks for Medicaid and Medicare and all this kind of things, right? Like, so the air right now is not really breeding a lot of abundance. But I've been thinking about this, even before this time in our country, because I truly don't think that the majority of us walk around with an abundance mindset, or even really understand what abundance truly is. And I have began to really dig into this topic, even in my own life, and try to live it on a day-to-day basis. And I'm so happy to be doing today's class because I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've learned. And I want you to walk away from this class living and knowing how to attract abundance to your life. I grew up with a poverty mindset. Like, I mean, I grew up in poverty. so, so rightfully so, I have a poverty mindset, right? Growing up in poverty, that's kind of what happens. And so I had a poverty mindset, and it was definitely instilled in me that we don't have abundance, we don't have money, we sometimes didn't necessarily have money to actually even care for our basic needs at the end of the day. And I was always told that money don't grow on trees. Okay, you probably was told that too. You probably was told something else as well. And if you are here with me, joining me live, you can drop your name and where you're tuning in from in the chat, and you can tell me some of the stories that you were told when you were younger, when it comes to money and abundance and all those things. And so that was my major one: money don't grow on trees. And I'm like, well, yes, it do, because it's paper. But I didn't know all that when I was younger, right? So here I am, being told money don't grow on trees. But the real story was, we don't have money for that. We don't have money for that. No, you can't have that because we don't have money for that. And I think about that now. I tell my kids that they can't have it, but I tell them that they can't have it not because we don't have money for that. It's because I'm not buying those things, or for whatever reason, right? But it was different back then. It was always, we didn't have money for that, or we couldn't do that. And I grew up thinking and believing that money was always scarce. It was always scarce. Like, we only got things around the first of the month when, my mom would potentially get a check or anything like that. But that's when we ultimately got money. And so at the end of the day, I grew up with a very skewed idea of what money is. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Because I was bused to predominantly white and upper class and influential neighborhoods for school, I knew that other people didn't live like I lived. So I knew that some people had money. I knew that there was some kind of abundance out there in life. I just didn't know how to get it or who those people necessarily were. And so I knew that there was something different out there, but I didn't know how to get it for myself. But very young, at a very, very young age, I vowed to find out how. And I'm happy to say, guess what? I figured it out and I'm going to share it with you because I think that it's definitely something we all need to know. And unfortunately, most of us don't learn it until we get adults. We don't grow up in it. So we have to learn it and overcome it as adults. And so let's talk about, today we're going to dig into how to create an abundant life so that you can live your life in abundance. But let's talk about what abundance truly means in the first place. So abundance is a state of being. It's a mindset. It's not just a financial status. I know so many of us think, and I was even talking about money, just now. Some of us think that having an abundant life or just living in abundance is just about money. And it's not just about money at all. It's living life with purpose, with joy, with love and connection and freedom. Like all those things, right? If I say those things in a row again, purpose, joy, peace, love, connection, freedom. We want all of that. You're going to tell me if you don't have those things, you're not going to feel like you're living an abundant life? You will. Trust me, you will. Because most of us don't feel like we have purpose. We don't feel like we are, have joy or are happy in life. We don't feel like we have peace. I mean, so many of us right now don't feel like we have peace, right? You might not feel like you have love or connection or freedom in your life. So many of us feel bogged down to jobs who don't appreciate us. But if you had those things, you would feel more abundant in your life. True abundance flows from the inside, right? Not from what we collect on the outside or for what we earn. I know it's hard to believe, but it truly comes from the inside. Because here's the thing, you can be financially rich and still feel empty. Hello, somebody. I'm going to say it again. You can feel financially rich, but still feel empty or have less or feel like you're not deeply, fully connected, right? Like you can still have all those things going on and have all the money in the world. But I know some of the most, I would tend to think, even right now, some of the richest people, yes, some of these people who are even running our government right now, I can bet they feel empty, but they mask because they got money. We do it all the time. And so I truly believe that abundance is that state of being that we all have access to. And if we think about God's definition, he'll say in John 10:10, I came so that they may have life and have it more abundantly. That's God's definition of what abundance looks like. And I'll tell you, throughout my journey, I have always equated having abundance to money, right? But now looking back, I know that it's just not about that because I want to be abundant in my relationships. I want to be abundant in the connections that I have. I want to be abundantly happy, right? Because so many of us are not. These are all the things that make our lives go around when you have these things. And it's not just money. So let's talk about shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundant mindset. First of all, when we talk about a scarcity mindset, let me ask you if you ever said these things to yourself. There's never enough. I know I used to think that. There's never enough. There's never enough. And let me tell you, what you think will always come true. If you think there's never enough, I can guarantee you there's probably never enough. Another one is, if someone else wins, I lose. That's the economy we're in right now. That is the economy that we are living in right now. If someone else wins, I lose. Who said that was true? Who said that was true? And everybody don't need to win at the same level. But just because somebody else wins does not mean you lose. Because I truly believe there is enough room at the top, whatever the top is for you. Because your top is different from my top, but there's still enough room. But when we think about scarcity, you think about, oh, if I see her and she's winning, then I'm upset and I'm mad because I'm losing. That's one of the biggest untruths that there is. It's just so untrue. Another one is, I'm not ready. I'm not worthy. I'm not capable. These are some of the things that we tell ourselves when nobody else is looking. Or these are some of the things that are breeded in our minds when we have the imposter syndrome. I'm not ready. Yes, you are. I'm not worthy. Yes, you are. I'm not capable. Yes, you are. But these are not things you're going to say out loud. But these are things that you think deep in your soul sometimes. And that's where we have to tackle this at. Because when it comes to abundance, you're not walking around saying, I'm not abundant, right? But you're thinking these things. And what you think is it breeds how you behave. And how you behave affects your life. Because 40% of your actions determines your happiness. And so that means you can wake up every day and what you do is going to determine how happy you are. So, but here's some reframes for all of those, right? When it comes to the abundance mindset says there's more than enough for all of us. There's more than enough for all of us. That's how I live. That's how I live. It's so interesting because I teach coaching and I coach coaches. And I coach coaches at Life University through the Masters of Positive Psychology program. Shout out to Life U. And I coach coaches in my own company, the Positive Psychology Coaching and Diversity Institute. Shout out to our PDL program, Positively Diverse Leadership. And so I coach coaches, and it's so funny. I collaborate with coaches all the time. And I myself am an executive coach. Some of you might have coached with me. Some of you might be in Thrive Society, which is our community and everything. And some of you may be joining us this year at Thrive 25 Women's Conference, July 12th and 13th. But either way, right, my goal is to help women succeed, to help women figure out their God-given purpose and to figure out a career or business that they love and make money while doing it. And I also collaborate with a lot of coaches, and a lot of people will ask me, well, if you are teaching all these women, collaborating with all these coaches, and you're a coach, aren't you scared that they'll take your business? No. Why not? Because here's another reframe. What's for me is already mine. What's for me is for me. What the Lord has ordained for me, nobody can take that. What God has provided and already set aside for you, nobody can take. Period. I don't care how hard they try. And so I know my God-given purpose is to help women succeed. That is it. So if I am to operate the way God has purposed me to, I have to help women succeed. It is what I was placed on earth for. And the same thing about your gifts. So just because you help somebody out, don't mean there's not enough for you. Because what's for you is already for you. And can't no man take that away. And that's just the truth. And that's how I operate, which is the reason why my life is so abundant. Which is the reason why your life can be so abundant when you operate this way. I'm never scared that somebody's going to take what God has purposed me for because they can't do that. And they can't do it for you either. And a lot of another refrain is God is my source and he provides always. For me, I love God and I would not be able to operate the way that I do and still do the things that I do, fight against all the injustices that are going on in our world, especially around diversity, equity, and inclusion, if I didn't have a higher source that I believe in. Right. So I truly believe that I'm placed and you're placed here for a purpose. And it is your job to figure that out. And when you figure that out, you can live this amazingly abundant life. I can remember, um, I've had just several conversations over the last couple of days with students and clients, and all of them are asking about growing a business. Right. This is one of the things that I love. Right. There's videos here on my channel about growing a side hustle while you're still working your full-time job, and how to grow a profitable business if that's something that you want to do. And so these are the conversations that I've been having. But I can remember back when I was first starting off growing my business, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I didn't know. And I looked to several people to help me grow my business, and everybody wanted money. Now, let me just say this. The purpose of a business is to make money. Even if you're a nonprofit, you have to make money in order to serve the people who you are supposed to serve with your mission, right? That's the purpose, right? So I'm not saying people shouldn't make money, but when I was trying to grow my business back in the day, I was taken advantage of a lot. I was taking advantage of a whole lot because I was looking for the answers, and I never could find anybody who I felt, well, who ultimately was honest and wasn't just out for the money, right? In my businesses as a coach, I make money, but my whole goal is to help the person who I'm coaching succeed, because your success is my success. But when I was out, it didn't seem to be that way. So I actually I spent a lot of money to learn how to coach. And I ultimately I learned a strategy of getting clients, right, that didn't sit well with my value set. And it made me feel morally not abundant. And I had to truly change my ways. And I'm saying to you, you're out here, you're trying to learn how to live this abundant mindset. You got to make sure that you connect with the people who value the same things you value. Because otherwise you'll get yourself into a situation that is not good for you. So when it comes to really shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundant mindset, the first thing I need for you to do is for you to notice your fear of lack. Sometimes we are just not even aware. We're not aware of how we sound, what the words that are coming out of our mouth. I coach so many people who have such negative self-talk that it is, oh my God, it's so bad. And I have to help my clients reframe from this negative self-talk. And because here's the thing, when you talk that way, things happen. You manifest how you feel, what you say, it comes to life. I don't care what you say. So if you're saying, I don't never have no money, I ain't gonna never have no money, I'm gonna always be broke, I'm broke. Baby, stop it. Cut it out. Cut it out. I don't ever want to hear you say you broke, even if you ain't got no money. Take it from Dr. Kiki. Don't ever let them words come out your mouth again. Because if you continue to say that, there's something that's that subconscious in your mind that clicks to say, oh yeah, we are broke. And then your mind never starts to think about ways to become not broke. Okay. So cut it out. Quit saying you broke because, yeah, right? And quit saying that I don't have friends, I don't have connections, I'm not happy, I'm not joyful, all those things. All those things may be true. But here's the thing, what you speak is what is. What you speak is what you get. And so I need you to start noticing your fear of lack and your thoughts. I need you to wake up and notice when you are in a negative funk. And I need you to replace those with the truth and with gratitude, because you can always be grateful about something. I don't care. You can be going through the absolute worst time of your life. And I know so many people right now. I know you may be going through a difficult time in your life right now. I do. But here's the thing, and I know you've heard it before. There's somebody out there who is going through something far more difficult. This is not meant to invalidate what you're going through. It's meant to put what you're going through into perspective. There's somebody out there who's going through so much worse than you are right now. And the fact that you are alive means you were meant to be here right now, listening to my voice. This is your sound. This is your sign that you matter. And you got to get these negative thoughts out your head. So ask yourself, what's the truth? What's the truth? We have these things called thinking traps. Thinking traps are these thoughts that keep us in this circle and they keep us trapped, and we spiral and we spiral and we can't get out of it. And so one of the ways to stop a thinking trap is to ask yourself, is what you're thinking, is it actually true? Nine times out of 10, what I've realized with my clients is their thinking traps are not true, but they never stop to ask themselves that question, because some of us just want to spiral. So I need you to take a step back. Ask yourself, is what you're thinking about your lack or your lack of abundance actually true? If it is true, I get it. I get it. But what can you now be grateful for? Right? Can you be grateful that you have the ability to get up and figure it out the next day? Because let me tell you, as long as you have breath, that means you can figure it out. That means you can figure it out as long as you have breath. The only time you can't figure it out is if you no longer have breath. So I need you to also surround yourself with people who think abundantly. Now, we all have friends. And chances are you got that one friend who always gonna think negative. You got that one friend who always gonna bring up something negative, who looks at the glass half empty versus half full. We all have friends like that. And you got to know where to place those friends. If you are in a state where you are trying to build your abundance and your abundance mindset, you can't be around that friend, because that friend will bring you down. Because, baby, misery loves company, period. And if you don't want to be miserable, you need to stay away from that person. Find the friend who's happy. Find a friend who can see the bright side of things. Even though the world may be crumbling down, they can still see the brighter side of things. Find that friend. Because when you're trying to get yourself up out of a funk and trying to get yourself into an abundant life, you need people who think like you. You need people who are going to challenge your faulty thinking. When I get into a funk, right? My husband, yes, okay, yes, I do sometimes. I know I'm Miss Positive Psychologist. I know, but I'm also human, and so are you. But when I get into a funk, sometimes my husband's always there to lift me out. He's always there to show me and to tell me, ma'am, you need to go and look on your bright side of things. And I'm like, I know. You need friends like that. And then you need to really get you a daily affirmation that resonates with you. One of those for me is, I'm living in abundance. I'm walking in abundance. I'm running in abundance. I'm dripping in abundance. Abundance is all around me because I need to be reminded that I have a good life. You need to be reminded that you have a good life. Despite things that may be going on, at the end of the day, if you got a job, if you got a roof over your head, if you got food, you're doing pretty good. You're doing better than most. I'm not playing. You are. You're doing better than most. And so that's how you shift from a scarcity mindset to a to an abundance mindset. And so I want to just leave you real quick from this class with some practical steps to fully live in your God-given purpose as it pertains to abundance. First of all, I want you to get clear on your gifts and your passions. I've talked about this so much in a lot of my classes. I'm so big on getting clear on what you're passionate about and what you're gifted in, because that's the thing that's going to take you to where you need to go. If you are walking around from a deficit model, if you're working from a deficit place, then it's going to be hard for you to walk in your God-given purpose. Now, I'm not saying you have to quit your job or anything like that. If you feel like your job is a deficit, then you got to still get clear on your gifts and your passions so that at some point you can make a move or do it on the side, right? I want you to set small intentional goals that align with your purpose. And what I mean by that is that you do not have to have these big, huge, audacious goals. They're good. And I think we all should have some, but set some small intentional goals that's going to get you to the next place quicker. Goals that you can get quickly or do quickly go so much further, right? When you have this big goal that you might not get there for a year, it's hard. It's very easy to lose motivation. So set some really small ones so that you can get to that next step and then take some bold action. Okay? Because you can't set goals without taking action. And then lastly, I want to leave you with this. This is one of my best advices. Best advice to anybody who is really trying to live an abundant life. You need to serve others from your overflow and not your burnout. Woo! Dr. Kiki, honey, say it again. Say it again. You need to serve others from your overflow and not your burnout. I'm just going to let that sit in for a minute. Because if you are burnt out, you're not no good to nobody. You don't operate in your best. You're not operating from a place of strength. You're not happy. None of those things are true when you're burnt out. But when you are energized, you've gotten enough sleep, you've gotten good food, exercise, you've taken care of yourself. Now, when you serve people from an overflow, now you're serving people from an abundance and not scarcity. You can be positive, you can be happy. And that's what people need, and that's what you need in your own life. So I hope that this class was beneficial to you. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I can't tell you how much that would mean to me. And also share this video with somebody who needs to hear it. Somebody out there needs to hear what living an abundant life truly is. And I hope that you will take at least one thing that I said. I'm a coach, y'all. Take at least one thing that I said in today's class and apply it to your life. When you do, come back to this video and share with me what you did. I can't wait to connect with you. All right now, peace.